Hey, friends and family. I am currently in the big state of Hawaii and just wanted to give you guys an update on just what's been happening, what the heck's been happening. It's been kind of a while since I put out a video or sent out a newsletter email, um, but so much has happened since the last email that I sent out to many of you. And I think some of you may recall that I was talking about the DNA conference that I went to and how George Floyd had just happened and they spent a week on racial reconciliation and so on and so forth. There's just been some really great stuff. And there's been a lot of follow through with YWAM. And man, I'm just so proud to be a part of this organization because they care so deeply about the world, about the nations, about America. If you did not hear, I staffed a school in July, a discipleship training school where I was helping 18 plus year olds get to know God. And then that was a 3-month lecture phase. And then they went through 2 months on the big island of Hawaii of making God known. And so really, we actually felt that for outreach, we felt that it was less about evangelistic purposes and it was more about showing people God's love, because people in Hawaii on the 8 different islands, they know Jesus. So many of them know Jesus. Like, God has reached this nation. However, there is some major racial reconciliation that needs to happen, because if you're not aware, their story is very similar to the Native American story. So you have a group of people who were actually forced into becoming a state of the United States of America, and the Queen was actually held at gunpoint to surrender their people to this new direction, to surrendering their nation to the United States. So while there is, if you want to read into it, I don't want to take too much time, but if you want to read into it, there is some beautiful history about the first Christians who came and shared the gospel, shared God's love, and there's some really great stuff that comes of it. But the missionaries were actually trying to prepare the Hawaiians and the islanders, the Polynesians, all of them. They were trying to prepare them for the Western culture that was to come, because essentially they knew that people would come and try to abuse their systems and try to bring business and economy into this place, things that they were not necessarily familiar with. And so people who did not know how to read and write were being taught how to read and write by these missionaries in preparation. However, despite the missionaries' efforts, the government made laws that said, if you don't claim this land with contracts and with all these legal different ways that they claim the land, it would basically be up for grabs. And so now you have many people who still live in Hawaii, and this random foreigner owns their ancestors' land. Their grandfather and grandmother's land is owned by some random foreigners. And so it's heartbreaking to hear about that. And not only that, but their language was actually outlawed until 1980 or 1979, something ridiculously recent. Just speaking their mother tongue was outlawed against the law in this American state. So we just felt for this outreach, which I felt so honored to be able to be a part of, our goal was to pursue reconciliation, because as a whole, Youth with a Mission, YWAM, we're still growing in our ability to relate and honor the culture here, because it might be an American state, but it's not really America. Any of you who've been to Hawaii, you know that this state is, it feels like you're in another nation. And that's because the indigenous people live here. Islanders live here who've had their generations of family that lived here before any of us ever came there. Yeah, so, there's a lot of bitterness in the island people and the locals because of what foreigners have done. And so what you have is you have people who come to this island and they just take and take and take and take. And it's not a bad thing to come to Hawaii. It's a great thing. It's a beautiful thing, and it's a cherished land. Around the world, people know Hawaii, and it's on their bucket list to visit. But most people who come to the island, they come to take, not to give. And the islander way is actually to give more than you take. And so they gave and gave and gave. Their land was taken. Now many of them live in poverty, and they live on, like government income that gets sent to them. And so many of them work in the service industry, and they work in the singing and dancing industry. And we come there and we ask them to sing and dance for us. We ask them to serve us in our hotels and Airbnbs and blah, blah, blah. And we don't go there to bless the people. And so that has caused resentment. That has caused bitterness. The ways that we've demonized their culture for a while, their culture was taken away from them. I learned a lot about this culture. It's been very, extremely enlightening to me. And it's been humbling, because you have to walk in this low place to enter into this place of understanding and honor that is beyond normal cultural standards for Western American. But it's been good for me because I feel like I can honor people better because of this. It has been just a lit trip. So our students went through their 2 months of outreach, serving the community, loving on them, and just really like finding ways to give back in the midst of COVID and to even connect people in the midst of COVID. So we actually started a youth group. We started a program called Alpha Youth, and around 30 kids ended up showing up to that. And we were trying to walk the best that we could with the COVID protocols. Fortunately, no one caught COVID through the whole 2 months and beyond that. But it was definitely a risk. But at the same time, we just felt like youth today are in desperate need of community and of engagement, of mentorship. So it was a huge honor to be able to partake in that and to serve the community. We actually learned a dance as well. To be able to serve the community and show them, like, honor them by really embracing their love language, which is singing and dancing and serving. So we learned how to sing the blessing in Hawaiian. I'll link that below if I can find it. And then also I'll try to put up a video of the dance as well at some point. I'm not sure if it's going to be in this video, but I'll try to send some of that stuff your guys' way. And it's a dance made by a local Hawaiian, a dance through the American Language Society, and we had to like pass a test to be able to do it. It was really cool. First choreographed dance I've really ever learned. So a lot of beautiful stuff happened. There was so much growth in the 4 students who came with me and my co-leader Brooke on this outreach trip. And overall, it was just an incredible experience for our students to do this in the midst of COVID. Like, you got to understand, you're a warrior if you're going to travel and engage in the mystery of a discipleship training school in the midst of a pandemic. Like, total warriors, and I'm so proud of them for accomplishing that and finishing that. yeah, so anyway, um, I I know this is a lot. This is probably more time than I meant to talk, but I always talk more than I mean to when I make these videos because I've got a lot to say and God's doing a lot. So I want to keep you guys in the loop. So anyway, if you guys have any questions, any comments, concerns, or if you just want to like be more engaged in prayer with me, I am trying to make strides and steps to be a better communicator with you guys as supporters, as prayer warriors, and so on, as friends and encouragers. I just want you to know that I am also here for you guys. I mean, if we've never talked before, but you're on my email list, I want you to know that like the invitation is always there for us to set up a FaceTime call, Zoom call, phone call, or just a text or whatever. I would love to meet you if we're just on an email basis, or even if we're not on that type of basis either. Like I really feel this responsibility to pray for you guys as well as my supporters and to engage in your world. So if any of you would like to catch up, meet me, or get to know me better, whatever reasons, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, like, this is just kingdom work, you know, us connecting and advancing the gospel through the ministry that I'm doing, through the ministry that you're doing, because all of you have a ministry. Anyways, so enough rambling. This has just been an awesome season. I have a lot of vision for the future, because I think we pursued reconciliation with the Big Island, because YWAM historically, these last 60 years, YWAM was founded in 1960. They have not been the best on the Big Island at engaging locally. They're great at engaging the nations, but they have not been the best historically at engaging the local community, specifically here on the Big Island. So, and it's challenging because it's America, but it's not really America. And that's the dilemma, because people kind of feel like it's America, but also like it's not. So we walked in this high calling of honor in this time, and there has been incredible fruit. And I think in the future, to keep walking this out, I think we're going to have some conversations at the base with leadership, me and the other staff, as well as the school leaders, just about like what it can look like to walk out better community engagement. And I'm even thinking about, like, can we restructure the discipleship training schools so that it includes more culture training? Because this isn't just America, it's Hawaii. So anyway, love you guys. Thank you guys so much for engaging with me, praying for me. Please send me your prayer requests, or reach out to me on YouTube, or reach out to me on social media, wherever this ends up. Just know that you're loved by the Father. God will never stop pursuing you. His goodness will never stop pursuing you. And he's good through this pandemic, even with all the craziness that's been happening in the world, in the Capitol. We need God. We need God. And honestly, I hope that all of you have been able to see that through this pandemic, it has highlighted, especially to me, our need for community. And so I hope that you are wanting to pursue godly community. Love all you guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you made it to the end, you are an OG. All right, guys. Peace out. Aloha.